Best of r/entitled parents episode 28. Hey guys. This is my first post here, so I hope I don't screw up. It's also a pretty old story and I don't think I can disclose which movie I'm talking about, but it's one of 2019's MCU movies that was premiering in the theater where I work. So let's start with this. The theater where I work is small. It's situated in a meek town, so nothing happens here, usually. The belated premiere of one MCU movie at the theater. Most people who really cared about this film went to see it in the city, so there wasn't that much movement and we played it in our smallest screening room. 30 to 40 people came in, mostly teenagers or parents with their kids. In walks entitled Dad. Balding guy in a black jacket with a little boy, 10 at best. I'm not gonna lie, I have no idea how this started. I didn't serve the man and his son. I completely missed them coming in and only caught onto the situation later. But basically, they bought tickets and went to their assigned screen after buying some snacks. The audience took their seats. One of us workers checked the screen for temperature and phones, and all was well. Now, we check the screens a few times per screening. We have signs on all doors and by the steps leading to the screens that ask audiences to turn off their phones. There's also an announcement before every film that asks the same thing. Turn off the phones. If you care to read one of those countless signs, you'll know that if you are caught using your phone in the screening room, you will be asked to leave. Entitled Dad apparently couldn't read, or couldn't care less. We're strict on this because phones are really distracting. When we, workers, step into the dark room, the first thing we see from the door is the phone screen, because it is so bright in the theater lighting. They're really visible and annoying to other spectators, silenced or not. Next time this screening was checked, entitled Dad, was on his phone. He was asked to turn it off. He instead grumbled and stuck it in his pocket. Then we checked the screen again after a few minutes and again asked to turn it off. That's when decides to argue. The worker dealing with him was almost brought to tears because he was so rude. She's a young girl, and she went to get the manager. Now, our manager is a big guy, buff as all hell, tall and dangerous looking. He's a teddy bear, though, but the worker who was almost brought to tears was his sister and he wasn't nice to the person who was mean to her. Our manager goes to and asks him to leave. Throws a fit. He starts to yell at the manager, angry that he has to watch this stupid movie and that he should be allowed on his phone because he is only there so his son can see it. We don't let children under 12 in without their parent or guardian, so yes, he had to be there if he wanted to sit with his son. Still, phones were prohibited. He claimed we should let him be on his phone and distract all the other audience members because he would be bored otherwise, all while shouting at the staff and disrupting the movie, which was already running. One of our workers had to run upstairs to the control room to pause the movie. 6 months of working in that theater and that's the only time this had happened. Our manager finally won the argument and got to leave and take his poor son with him. I'm still sorry for the kid because I'm sure he wanted to watch that movie. The manager apologized profusely to the remaining audience and the newest MCU movie continued to play. I had people coming out to grab some more snacks mid-premiere and they asked me about and offered us support because they were worried about the staff. We also apologized again for the inconvenience and they said it wasn't our fault. They were glad was gone. My manager mostly laughed about it. He said it wasn't a big deal. These things happen. His sister was shaken, but fine. We went ahead with our daily duties. Then it turned out wasn't gone after all. In he marches, all alone this time. Maybe he didn't want to traumatize his child more, but I don't think he deserves the credit for thoughtfulness. So maybe his son was simply too shaken to return with him. Anyway, walks up to the tickets booth and asks, I kid you not, for a refund. The manager laughed and told him no way in hell is he getting a refund. We're usually really understanding and refunds aren't difficult to do, but my manager wasn't willing to cooperate with after he made the manager's, sister and his own, Ed's, son cry and disrupted the premiere for a few dozen people. Besides, he broke the rules knowing he will be asked to leave, and the movie was more than half an hour in, he had no right to ask for a refund. He called my manager rude and demanded again that he gets a refund because he was kicked out of the cinema and his son's day was ruined. Dup, you ruined it, The manager said no and told to leave. ED started swearing and insulting our manager, but he was halfway out the door when he yelled at my manager that he was a brainless piece of testosterone injected meat and that he thinks he's so scary with all that muscle, but he won't be so scary when his ass is sued. So yeah, dude threatened my manager with a lawsuit while my manager was laughing his head off. The lawsuit never came. Neither did the dude return. TL. Doctor, for those who don't feel like reading this wall of text, entitled Dad was using his phone inside the screening room in the theater because he didn't want to watch the movie. His son did, so he decided he will use his phone. After a few warnings he was asked to leave, threw a fit and disrupted a premiere. Then he left, came back the same day to get a refund. My manager laughed him off and the ED insulted him, threatened a lawsuit and was never seen at the theater again. Edit. Skipped a word. Thank you. Next. Note, again on mobile, so sorry if I format wrong. Backstory, I'm 18 years old and I currently work at a movie theater. I've been working there for about 9 months, at the time of this story, about 8 months. I also have ADHD and Asperger's and I was suffering from depression and other mental health issues. I also have anxiety. My co-workers and managers all know this and they are nothing but supportive and try to help me through everything. Cast, me take a guess. EF entitled Father. Main problem of the story K13 entitled Father's kids, though energetic, weren't much of a problem. See Chris, co-worker who was working cafe and came over to help shorten the line. M manager, who also helped me shorten the line. AM Muscle Mom, EF's wife L lady, who, despite rushing me, was really nice. Story, I was opening the Popper station that day and at the beginning I did have a minor rush, but I managed to handle it. My radio was also having problems. I did have people who ordered at cafe and I managed to get theirs done. Enter EF and AM and their kids. And enter C. Chris helped shorten the line and I told him that I'll do orders from cafe. This conversation ensued. EF, hi, we have this order, shows receipt. Me, I'll get to it right away. Can I grab the receipt? EF, no, I want to hold on to it. I saw that they had 2 smalls and a kids as well as a large popcorn. I got all of those done. Chris had to go back to cafe, and the manager came over, but went to the back real quick. Then I saw that they had 4 medium drinks. Kids popcorn comes with its own cup that you can only get if you get the kids popcorn, and this is where it all goes downhill. EF, can I get 3 kids cups? Me, sir, you got only 1 kids combo. I gave you the only kids cup that I needed to give you. EF, I ordered 3 kids cups, and I want them now. Me, sir, I can't give you any more kids cups. You ordered 4 mediums. EF, can't you do your job right? Me, I'm trying to get your order done, but you are making it hard on me. Wrong choice of words. AM, you aren't trying hard enough. EF, I'm making it hard on you. I'm going to miss my movie because of your retarded ass. Me, voice breaking, there are medium cups behind you. Self-serve. EF, thank you. Finally, you don't act like you have an extra chromosome. My manager comes back and helps me. The lady was the next person I had to serve. L, I think you're doing your best. Me, crying a bit, thanks. L, I need to get a replacement popcorn because this tastes bad. Please make it quick. Me, still crying a bit, okay. I managed to get hers done, though with me saying that it does count as a refill, which my manager told me that since it's replacing popcorn, it doesn't count. M, I know you did your best, but you should always get one of us to help. Me, crying, I know. M, are you okay? Me, crying, yeah. M, you sure? Me, crying a bit less, yeah, just need a minute. M, okay. I then rushed into the back and had a massive panic attack and curled up into a ball. After 5 minutes, I cooled off and went back to work. Thank you. Next. So this wasn't too big of a deal, but I was pretty shocked that it happened at all. Yesterday we went to a major amusement park in Orlando. We went with my husband's cousin, her husband and 3-year, and then my husband, 1-year-old and 3-year-old. The 3-year-olds want to go on a train ride that they had, so my husband offered to take them and wait in line with them so they could get on. The rest of us waited outside the gate. So once it was their turn, they went up to the front of the train to get on with another little boy about their age. The front of the train can fit 4 kids. Out comes entitled Mom. No, he can't ride with anyone else. We've been waiting and I want him to ride by himself. My husband grabs our son and his cousin and takes them back off the train to find another seat, but by this point the ride is full. So he takes them back in line. He asks the ride operator what that was all about and if the boy has a disability or something. The entitled mom snaps at my husband that her son is not disabled or special needs or anything, but that he just doesn't like to be around other kids. You're at a theme park, lady. My husband isn't wanting to fight with this lady and instead turns to our kids to tell them they can go next. They were obviously pretty upset. The rest of us are watching this from outside the ride and just assumed that maybe he was special needs. The whole time the ride is going, this entitled mom is rushing around the outside of the ride taking pictures of her son, pushing people out of the way who were trying to take pictures of their own kids. When the ride stopped, rather than thanking my husband for allowing her son to ride by himself, she grabs her kids and walks off. My son and his cousin got to ride next and sat with 2 other kids on the ride as well. My husband came out and told us the full story. I was pretty shocked that someone would act like that. And seriously, if your kid doesn't like other kids, don't go to the theme park and hang out in the little kid areas. But don't ruin everyone else's good time. Thank you. Next. My parents and I used to coach/umpire at the local rec center. My parents were coaching my younger sister's baseball team one year, and they had Ed's son on their team. I used to go to the practices, and even umpired a few games. So I knew Ed thought his son was going to be the next biggest baseball star. His kid was nice, but basically just a mediocre player. Ed would help my parents with the practices and the pre-game warm-ups, but really only focus on his son. He would yell, and I mean scream, at my parents if they didn't play his kid enough. This was a league just for fun/exercise, so they tried to give everyone an equal amount of play time. He constantly yelled at the umpires, myself included. We even overheard him yelling at his son after one game, because he didn't perform as well as he thought he should/could. Every year my parents did a parents versus kids game at the end of the season. My brother and I would umpire, but it was basically just for fun. The parents would pitch to their kids, and then would fumble the ball, or miss throws, so their kids would all pretty much get a home run every time. Not Ed though. When it was Ed's son's turn to hit, Ed actually struck him out. Only parent to do so. The kids would then pitch to their parents, and the parents would either let them dramatically strike them out, or bunt or hit grounders so their kids could tag them out, or chase them around the bases act. Well, Ed gets up to bat, and his son steps up to pitch to him. Big smile on son's face. It was his turn to strike his dad out. He threw an easy pitch, and Ed hit the ball with all of his strength. The ball beelined right back to his son and hit him full force in the face. I was the first base umpire, so I had a side view of it all. This ball hit him so hard it knocked him off of his feet, and sent his arms and legs flailing. It was literally like a cartoon. We all ran over, Ed included, and his son is crying, dripping blood from his nose and mouth, and he spits out at least 3 of his front teeth into his dad's hand. We made sure he wasn't dying, and rather than calling an ambulance, his dad scoops him up and takes him to his car to take him to the hospital, apologizing the whole time. This kind of put a damper on the game, so we called the game there. Luckily for the kid, if you can count it as lucky, his upper mouth/teeth had taken most of the hit. He needed emergency dental surgery to remove some broken pieces of the teeth still left in his mouth, but all of the broken/lost teeth were not adult teeth. So the doctors said his adult teeth should grow in a few years. He would just have a gap until they did. He didn't have any broken facial or nasal bones, so just some bad bruising for a few weeks. I don't even think he had a concussion either. The kid was actually back the next year, with Ed acting the exact same way, even yelled at my mom when she was umpiring a game, and called his son out. But luckily they weren't on our team. Thank you. Next. Just to update what happened, which is long overdue, my mom no longer has any custody of me. However, she still believes she is entitled to me spending Christmas with her instead of my dad. Court said that I don't have to if I don't want to, which I probably won't, and as of now she is basically out of my life 110%. Thank you. Next. This happened over 10 years, when I was still in grade school. Okay, so when I was a kid, me and my mom lived in a trailer park. And it sucked. The people there were crazy. The house was falling apart. It was just a mess. But the worst person I knew was this one guy, EK, who was the same age as me. So of course, My mom and his mom tried from the very first day I was there to get us to become friends. EK was a real jerk from the beginning. He was extremely biased about who he played with, had a mouth like an Irishman, and would pick on anybody who didn't abide by his wants and rules. Example. I had my Game Boy with me one time and he wanted to play on it. I told him number. The very next day, I was called to the office because I was bullying him by not sharing my toys. And then, he made up another lie about me crying in front of the principal, which he used to get everyone to pick on me for being a crybaby. That is just one example. But this story is the worst one. Now, when I was 10, my mom got me a really awesome bike. It was a chopper Schwinn that looked like a Harley Davidson motorcycle with bike pedals. I rode it everywhere I went. And of course, it got a lot of looks from the neighborhood boys. EK was one of them. One day, he had come to my neighbor's house, who I was playing some game with, my bike laying on the grass. He comes over and was like, "Hey, OP, let's go play in the park." The trailer park had its own little playground that all the kids would go to and play on every day. I never went there because nobody would come with me, so I, being a stupid kid, fell for it and got on my bike. Neighbor followed me. EK was there waiting for us when we got there, and for the first time, we were playing together. We went on the jungle gym and laughing, talking like real friends would. Suddenly, he was out of my sight for a minute, when I then felt a real sharp pain in my back. I dropped to the ground, and all I heard was run. I got to my feet when I noticed EK was on my bike, riding it as fast as he could down the street, with neighbor right behind him. Right beside me was a softball bat. I ran after them, but me being a pudgy guy, I couldn't catch up to them. So, in tears, I went straight home and told my mom everything. She immediately got her coat and we drove right to EK's house. And sure enough, my bike was there, laying on the grass, on his lawn. Mom went straight for the door and banged on it, loudly. Coming to the door was EM, looking like a prostitute. No, seriously, she looked awful. Sagging skin, smoking a cigarette, wearing a tube top, all that sexy stuff. I can't remember the exact dialogue, but it consisted of my mom telling her about what happened, and her not showing the least bit of interest. She even laughed a few times. But I did hear her, at one point, say boys will be boys before taking another draw on her cigarette. And yes, EK was staring through a window, making faces at me. Eventually, EM just slammed the door. Mom told me to grab my bike. I did and started to ride it back home, my mom driving in front of me. Everything was going back to normal. I went home and had supper. My back was hurting pretty bad, and mom was telling me that I got a giant bruise from the attack. Then we hear a pounding on our door. I open it up, and standing at the stairs, was 2 police officers, with EM standing on our lawn with EK on my bike. EM, there he is. That's him. PO1, hey, this lady says you stole her son's bike. Is your mom home? Me, what? That's my bike. PO2, just get your mom, kid. Mom comes to door and starts to talk with the cops outside. Both her and EM were raising their voices while I looked on from the door, which was glass so I could see perfectly with it being closed. I couldn't quite hear what they were saying, but it sure looked like EM was just talking out her ass and EK was just riding around, on my bike, looking like he was going to get himself a free ride. Then my mom opened the door. Mom, OP, come out here. I did. PO1, your mom says that this kid hit you with a bat. EM, which he didn't. EK, yeah. Suddenly, mom spins me around and lifts my shirt, and I couldn't see her face, but I did hear EM mutter a slight "oh, dot," and that was enough for the cops to suddenly turn their attention to them, and they approached EK and told him to get off my bike. He wasn't budging, still saying it was his bike. EM literally pulled him off the bike and he landed, side first, on the concrete driveway. He started to cry, but did I feel sorry for him? Of course not. Before I knew it, EM was being handcuffed. She started spewing out obscenities and blaming me for turning her son into a little bastard. EK was taken home where he would eventually be taken away to be with family, I guess. So in the end, EM got arrested and charged with contributing to the delinquency of a minor, child abuse and, from what mom would tell me years later, something that had to do with the drugs. Pretty sure she was taking them, but for all I know, she could have been selling them. All I know is, she was put away for close to 7 years for all that. EK, however, was let off the hook. Apparently, because he was underage, he couldn't be charged with battery. All I know is, I didn't see much of him after this. He had moved in with his dad, I think. The reason why I suddenly remember all this is because just recently, I had seen a mugshot of a guy being arrested for attempted robbery of a gas station. Sure enough, it was him. EK, all grown up, obviously still a jerk, but now with karma biting him square in the butt. Hope both of them get help soon, but also hope I never see any of them ever again. Thank you. Next. So I work part-time at a hobby shop. We have a lot of kids who come hang out and play magic. We usually keep an eye on them but have been very clear with parents that we are not a daycare. We have magic camp and D&D camp and we watch the kiddos during that time, but anything else it is parent responsibility to be around in case they need to pick up their kid. We have this one kid, NK, who comes in every week and his parents drop him off for 4-5 hours. He has nothing to do because it's slow and his parents go far distances. My manager and I have told them several times that they are welcome to do whatever with their time, but we advise they do not go that far because there could be an emergency. They always brush us off. So today NK comes in and tells us his parents are going several hours away and will be back around midnight and will pick NK up then. We close at 9. I call ED and DM. ED, hello, this is ED. Me, hello, this is OP at shop name. NK told us you aren't going to be around until midnight. Am I hearing this correctly? ED, that's right, we are going to a wedding 2 hours away. It will be over at 9:30 and we will head back. Me, I'm sorry but we cannot accommodate that. We are only open until 9 and I have another job to go to directly after this. ED, well that's just too fucking bad because you are going to stay there until we get back. And you are going to pay to feed my kid dinner. Me, again ED, that is not possible. If you are not here at 9 I will be forced to call the police to wait with NK until you grab him. We are not a daycare. ED, again, you will stay there until we get there and you will feed my kid. Don't call again. Click. So I talk to my manager. We do end up feeding NK, and we call the local police. They offer to call ED. I don't know what happened in that conversation but a friend of the family came to pick up NK. ED called us screaming at us because we are uptight pricks and need to just shut the fuck up and watch their kid. We're going to call NK's mom tomorrow and set clear guidelines for when NK comes back. Edit to add. I have already called CPS on them several times and nothing seems to have come of it. I've also called the police on several occasions as well. I think my boss and I are going to ban the kid from the store unless he has an adult with him.